Just wanted to cover a topic, and I'm going to try and keep it short today. Uh, but I think it's relevant because we often talk about practice and training, and that's all well and good. But we need to think a little bit broader. This is actually in one of the chapters of the book Defensive Preparedness. And it's an important thing. This is not some genius thing I came up with. This is just something I've observed in the industry, in my job at work. And it's the question of competence. And we tend to misuse words in America. I think in the world in general, we misuse words. Hey, Cobra, what's going on? We tend to misuse words because we don't really understand the meaning. So, when you go to someone, you're like, you're an incompetent. If you play Grand Theft Auto, what's that character's name? Trevor, who's kind of an asshole. And when he interacts with the NPCs, he calls them incompetents. And he's like, you give me hives, you're an incompetent, stuff like that. And we tend to take a negative connotation. Hey, Neil. Cobra, I am leaving the range, my friend. Just playing around with a reflex sight. I haven't used those before. And that's what spawned this whole video today. Oh, that's awesome. There's a guy holding a sign blocking the intersection, but he's not protesting. It's like an advertisement. He's trying to put it up. He's going to eat shit if he keeps doing that. He's going to fall down. Anyway, going back, we tend to misuse words in the U.S. and then Canada and general. And it's a question when you go to someone and where someone says incompetence, it's not meant as an insult, and it shouldn't be taken as such. Being incompetent means you don't have the skill set to do something. This is different than ignorance, which is a complete lack of knowledge, or stupidity, which is you should know better, you should be competent and have knowledge and not be ignorant, and you choose to do something that will likely create a negative outcome, and then you're shocked when it does. That's more stupidity. When I talk about competency, I speak about the ability to perform an action or a work or a job or whatever task in a correct and efficient and safe manner, right? And that can be anything, right? When you drive, if you're incompetent in driving, it doesn't mean you can't drive. It means you suck at it, or you don't. If you're incompetent, you don't know how to drive. You sit in the car and you're like, I don't know how to make this thing turn on. I don't know how to make it go forward. That would be incompetence. You're not stupid. You lack knowledge. You lack the skill set to function the vehicle. Someone gives you a firearm and you've never touched one before, and they say, okay, go shoot the target. You will likely be incompetent. You can try, but you won't know because you don't have the skill set, you don't have training and knowledge. And I think we, in vocabulary, and take offense because of ignorance. Yeah, and Neil, I know you are very eloquent in a lot of things you say. Sometimes you get angry and then you and I both become ineloquent. But yeah, in general, you understand exactly what I'm saying because I know you read a lot and you study things. And that's my point, is we don't have people take offense when they should be taking a reflection to themselves and say, so if someone shooting at the range and they're doing dumb shit and they're jamming and they're pointing it at other people, that could be stupidity, but it could be incompetence. They may not know the etiquette of the range. They may not know the safe handling of the firearm. But those are more extreme circumstances for us, and this is what I was doing today. I was old guard, like my uniform was BDUs, right? So we had M16 A3s, and our body armor was either PAS GT, for those of you who are old school, and a couple of us had freaking flak jackets, like leftover Vietnam shit, because it was an ancient National Guard armory. Our rifles all had the classic M16 carry handle, the A2 handle. So some of the newer optics, like the reflex sight, red dots I've used, but the reflex sight where it's elevated by a couple over the base of the platform, that's kind of not something I've really used before. Okay, well, Neil, we had them in our armory in '94, man. And it wasn't the PISGT with that big collar like you see in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. That it was legit. Like I could have put a peace pin here, like Private Pile or whatever the character was in a Full Metal Jacket, and it would have been great. Hey Billy, what's going on, folks? So again, my task was, do I have knowledge of shooting? Yes, I do. Do I understand what a red dot is? Yes, I do. Have I fired and trained with one to understand its function? No, I hadn't. Not this specific kind of elevated reflex sight. And so my goal today was not to be fancy. It was to basically become competent and understand, how does that red dot affect the way I shoot? How do I need to position my body? Because when it's further up off the axis of the barrel, your head, you're not looking down like a deer rifle now. You don't have the same cheek weld. It's a bit different. And I wanted to understand that. So today's goal was to gain some competency. And it wasn't ignorant. I have knowledge of the firearm. I understand how everything should work, but I had not trained in that particular platform. What I don't want to do is, you know, the zombie apocalypse occurs, and that's when I decide, oh, let me see if I know how to use this red dot. That's a terrible time to become competent, because then you can become a fatality, or you can have a catastrophe. Some other misfortune can befall you. But we should be doing this every week, every day. When you train with something, don't just go through motions, become competent in it. If it's your solar generator, set it up every month, every couple of months, pull it out on a sunny day. Yeah, absolutely, Neil. But if you have an elevated reflex sight versus say, an EOTech, which is lower to the axis, it's a different feel in the firearm. And you need to understand as a shooter, and you can appreciate this, you want to understand how you're positioned, because as you point out, if you're not looking the right way, now you can't see the red dot, or you're out of position to accurately fire at your target. But I'm using the firearms as an example. This can be anything. So when you're cooking with cast iron, most of us have knowledge. We understand cast iron. We know how to cook for the most part, at least our community does. But do you cook with the cast iron regularly? Because you may have knowledge and still be incompetent. Hey, Independent. Hey, Neil. Yeah, and all of it goes together, and that's exactly the point. Neil's right on the track with me. Is having knowledge and taking the time to practice to become competent. Basically, think of it this way: competency should be taking your knowledge and applying it to the real world. Right? I have knowledge of aviation, right? My degree gave me that. I'm not a competent pilot to get in a Cessna. I can fly a drone though, because I went and trained specifically for a few months to become competent in drones. And I'm very basic in my knowledge of drones right now, compared to some people who do elaborate shit and they race these little potatoes through all those mazes. You know, you've seen those drone competitions. That's not me. I would crash mine on the second turn, and that would be the end of my race. Exactly. And whether it's firearms or cast iron cooking, just because you have the knowledge doesn't mean you're competent in it. It took me months of cooking with cast iron, cooking scallops, beef, chicken, different types of food, vegetables, for stir fry, until I got to where I could say, I'm actually decent. I'm pretty good at cooking with a cast iron. I can do sauteed veggies with some chicken in there, basically a stir fry on a cast iron, and knock it out quick and get a nice sear to everything. But I've burned a fair share of things, right? I smoked up the house. I freaked out the dogs. I got scolded by the wife because I stunk the house. It is, yeah. And also for apparently attracting dogs, when I clang it, they're like, Dad's making a steak, and they come running. So they've already affiliated and associated the sound of metal, specific pots and pans, to Dad's making beef, and they come running. So, which I find amusing. But so folks, if you take anything from this short video, just because you have knowledge, which is good, practice competency. Now, something I need to refresh my competency on is the use of a tourniquet. So I'm going to designate a tourniquet as a training tourniquet. Probably open one of my Israeli bandages. That will be the training bandage. And I'm going to put them on myself. And then I'm going to go to my wife and have her put them on my leg, and I'll put them on her leg so that she understands how they work. Because if you have two people in the house and only one person knows CPR, first aid, and tourniquet use, and that's the person that gets hurt, well, the other guy's kind of fucked, right? Because the other one doesn't know what to do other than call 911. That's great. That's part of the process, but I'll bleed out before I get to 911 finds me. So make sure that you not only have the knowledge, right? Most of us do. We understand what's going on, whether it's canning. I understand canning. I know what's needed for canning. I have knowledge. I don't have competency. I've not converted my knowledge into a functional exercise, functional work to create my canned goods. I understand it. It's something I need to work on. And that's, to me, every time you improve your, hey, what's up, Kentucky? Every time you improve your competency, you get better at what you do. So again, when you say incompetent, it's not an insult. It simply means you lack the ability to take your knowledge and turn it into an actual act of work or an actual action to get a result. I'm trained in that and stabilizing the patient. Right. And triage. So I've done triage. You know, we did it in the garden, and you do it. You do a lot of it, actually, if I'm remembering what you do. But when you stop practicing it, right? I haven't applied a tourniquet to anyone or myself or any dummy or mannequin in a while. My company gives CPR, first aid, stop the bleed classes every 18 months. So I try to get in there because that's how I improve my competency. I actually have an instructor, and I do the CPR to the dummy, and we put the little bandage on it or whatever, and we apply a tourniquet. And so I refresh my knowledge, and then I apply the knowledge, and I become competent. So remember, competency simply means you're applying your knowledge to an action so you get the results you want. So take some time this weekend and get competent at something. Whether it's cast iron, you're canning, you're gonna go shoot it at the range, cleaning your gun. When was the last time you pulled apart that Glock 19, the Beretta, whatever it is you're carrying? Take some time to tear the weapons down, and don't shoot. I mean, everyone has their favorite pistol or shotgun or rifle, but don't just shoot one. If you have others in the safe, take them out, clean them, tear them down, remember how they work, because in an emergency, you never know. That might be the one rifle you pick up because the chupacabra is outside, and you're like, oh shit, I forgot where the safety is. That would be a bad day. Again, you don't want to become competent in a life and death situation. That's not when you want to do that. So folks, remember, competency, being competent at a task, simply means you have taken the knowledge you may have and have applied it to actual actions or work to get a result. And I mentioned it in my book, but you know, this is me kind of talking about it in real world. So today I was gaining competence in an elevated reflex sight because it's not something I've used. I have an ACOG, I have hunting scopes, I have iron sights. I didn't have one of these little potatoes. All my red dots are right over the axis of the barrel. This one's, you know, an inch elevated. Hey, Wisconsin, something I'm not used to, so I want to understand how it works. For the record, I'll do a review on this red dot. I bought a cheaper sight. Instead of going and buying a SIG or a Vortex for $200, I bought a knockoff Korean sight for $40 just to see if I like that kind of reflex sight. Because if I don't, I can return it, right? And be like, yeah, I don't like the way this feels. Send it back, and I'm done. I've conducted my exercise. I actually liked it. I really liked the way it felt, especially for a defensive firearm. So I'm probably going to leave it on my Diamondback. And so now, and also I had a new foregrip for the rifle. So I tested several things. I like the build now. So today was build competence and understand how that rifle performs, how I have to hold it, how I have to look through it to get on target. So Pick something, anything you improve of yourself and you gain better knowledge is going to improve your situation personally, and it's going to give you extra tools in an emergency. So remember, being incompetent is not an insult. Being stupid or a dumbass, that's an insult. There's no doubt about that. Competent or incompetent means you have not taken your knowledge and applied it to a real world action to get the results you want. You get rid of incompetency by becoming competent, by practicing and training with the knowledge you have and actually doing it to see if you perform it correctly or if you need to improve something you may be lacking. So anyway, folks, I'll leave you with that one. You folks have a great weekend. It will be 100 in Texas, in my part of Texas this weekend, which kind of sucks. Everyone else is having nice spring weather, and I have a blow dryer outside. Like the whole outside feels like a blow dryer. So anyway, you guys be good, be safe, take care of yourselves, and as Neil points out, be kind, be helpful, and keep out of trouble out there. And pay attention to what's going on, but don't panic. Remember, everything you hear is information you can use to make a better decision tomorrow. You guys take care of yourselves, and see you later. Bye.